So there's kind of a concept, they call it mindfulness in some philosophies. I call it paying attention, stupid. They, they, people in general, a section of people don't pay attention to what's going on around them. They kind of like go around it because they don't like what's going on around them. Psychologists talk about it and how they get involved in feed the world and feed another country where they're starving in this country, kind of a concept, and that's always been kind of odd to me. Start with your environment, your immediate neighborhood, work out kind of an idea is better if you have extra resources. But it reminds me of a news program I heard years ago on the radio when I was driving, and so I'm driving along, and they said in one thing the news was that they had far too much food for the pet shelter, for the for animal shelter. They had far too much resources there, and they were saying, please just donate money, and we can make bills with it, but no more food. And then the next clip on that news program was that the food bank was having problems feeding everybody because of the local downturn in the economy. And it just struck me that here there's too much food for pets, cuddly little pets, but because of their lack of mindfulness about what's important, humans were going with less food. It reminded me of something else I heard where they were talking to people that had children that were in the poor brackets, and they asked them, because they were underweight and their kids were fed well, but they said, well, why aren't you eating more? And the answer is because they were saving the food for their children. And so there's all this save the planet, all this save the world, and all this go to other planets, and all these things where resources are going to, but the really basic resources that are needed here are skimped, are made cheaper because of political movements that are not very mindful. So I will call this one mindfulness, and it's something to think about. Start with your family, start with your house. If that's taken care of, great, wonderful. Start with your neighborhood, start with your food banks, start with paying electric bills for people. Start with what's around you, and don't just think about going to the stars. And it's a great thing that he's trying to do, go to the stars and Mars and all this. It's progressing humans, I'm sure. But how much would be saved if we focused on feeding the poor, transportation? There's not a decent city in this country that has a train, has a bus, has public transportation that's usable. And post-COVID, it's become extremely unreliable to where you can't have a job and use public transportation very reliably. To that, I would say employers, please be very careful that you're understanding in transportation issues. So as things change into the future, we need to look at things that we can help in our society and not worry about outside our society yet. Fix your problems first. Fix the problems around you. Like, can a person outside of town travel to their job site easily and without taking up all the extra time they need for their children? That is a good question. What can you do to promote your political leaders to get that one little tiny task done? Is your traffic system based on charging the poor and not the wealthier? You got to think of those issues too. So that's mindfulness.